Hi guys, in this video we are going to take a look at graphing a simple linear function and more on that later in the course. So this one is 4x minus 1. Now the first thing that it wants is to compute the y-intercept and the x-intercept. So let's just not mix them up. So first of all, for the y-intercept, this is where the graph intersects with the y-axis, and on the y-axis, x is 0. So you need to remember that if it's the y-intercept, that means that x is going to be 0. And then to find y, we're going to plug in 0 in for x. So we are plugging in 0 for x. So what do we get? Well, the first term will drop out. So this is going to be 4 times 0, because remember the default operation is multiplication, and then minus 1. So that will give me negative 1. So that's going to go over here. And so that's where the graph will intersect at 0, negative 1, the y-axis. Now, the next one is the x-intercept. That one usually you got to solve an equation because the x-intercept is where the y is 0. So just think the other one, right? So if that's the x-intercept, the y has to be 0. And usually that involves actually solving an equation. So what you do is you make your 4x minus 1 equal to 0, and you need to solve that for x. Okay, so we isolate the x term, which is 4x, by adding 1 to both sides first. So then it's going to be 4x. So here the negative 1 and positive 1 will cancel. And then on the other side, 0 plus 1 is 1. And finally, we divide both sides by 4, because remember, the operation opposite to times is division. So that will cancel it here. And then we're going to get 1/4. So the 1/4 will belong in that blank and also in here. So you could just click on the fraction and enter 1/4. Oops, I think I added like a double fraction there. Okay, so we got it. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is evaluate this function at 1. So like what happens when x equals 1? Okay, so whenever x equals 1, we're going to plug that into the equation. So 4x. I'm going to put this in parentheses just in case. Whatever you're plugging, it's a good practice to always put what you're plugging in parentheses, especially if it's a negative number. Okay, so we got 4 times 1, which is 4, minus 1, and that's 3. Okay, so that will give me the 1,3 point here. Okay, so now in terms of graphing, the first thing we need to do is when we graph, we need to look at the choices and make sure that the right function is selected. So you should already be familiar with some of the basic toolkit functions here. So this is a line, this is a parabola, this is a square root, and this is the absolute value function. Now we need a line because 4x minus 1 is what we call a linear function. Again, more on that later. So we do not need these other ones. So we need 2 points on the line. The line is completely determined by 2 points. We cannot take 1/4 0 because here we have to like approximate. We only can plot points that have integer coordinates. So I'm going to pick 0, negative 1 as one of my points. So I will just click over here at 0, negative 1. And I'm also going to use 1, 3. So 1, 3, that would be here. Okay, so now I'm ready to submit. Okay, so let's see if you can do that. By the way, if you made a mistake here, you can either press on clear all. So that's one way. You can also, like if you go to a point and you see how if you want to change its position, you can drag it, right? So right now it's a pencil, but when you hover over the point, it becomes that double cross thing. And what you can do is just drag it outside. See, and it disappears. So again, let's start over again. As I was showing you, I removed the line, but let's add it. All right.